Hi, folks, and welcome to the Mike Lopez Show. I'm your host, ACMike. We'll bring you all things Atlantic City, politics, sports, dining, entertainment, and much more. On tonight's episode, we'll be talking all things boxing and entertainment. First up, we have Millville's own Thomas Cornflake LaManna, the founder and president of Rising Star Promotions. We will talk about his March 26th boxing card at Boardwalk Hall. After that, I will sit down with Greg Sharpshooter Outlaw Jr. to discuss him being the main event on that March 26th card at Boardwalk Hall. Then we'll close the show with my pal and the man, Dan Gallagher, Director of Sports and Sales at the Atlantic City Sports Commission. Folks, stay right where you're at. We'll be right back with our first guest. Hey, folks, welcome back to the show. Listen, we have a special guest here coming at us from his vehicle on his way to the gym. Thomas Cornflake LaManna, world-ranked fighter, president of Rising Star Promotions. Welcome to the show, Tommy.
Thank you for having me, Mike. Always a pleasure.
We appreciate you coming. Like I said, the man is literally on his way to the gym to do some sparring with one of the guys. Tommy, listen, we're going to talk to Outlaw during this interview and this show that we're putting together right now. But first, now we want to talk a little bit about you. You know, how you got your start and where you're at today. How'd you get there?
So with regards to me with boxing, so I was always born into boxing. You know, I always said I was born into boxing. My father being in the business when I was young. Younger, managing fighters, doing some stuff. So boxing and sanitation actually were like what are the two things I was born into. Surprisingly, I never got into the sanitation business, but I just fell in love with boxing. One time, I wanted to go to the gym. There was a local Boys and Girls Club in Vineland. One of the kids at school, one of my good friends to this day, Marvin Johnson, I said, come through. I went and I never stopped going. And many years later, I turned pro in 2011. Right now, currently, I have 37 pro fights. I have a record of 31 wins, 5 defeats, but 1 draw. So, I did just fight for a world title in my 2 fights ago. I fought Araceli Lara on Fox for the world title that ended dramatically, not in my favor. But, just to the point of me getting to that stage and, it meant a lot to me. That showed that all my hard work paid off. In the mix of all that, in December 5th, 2015, I started this promotional company, Rising Star Promotions. We've so far, I know we're north of 20 events that we've done in Atlantic City. I know we're definitely north of 20, anywhere from the Claridge Hotel, the Showboat Hotel, now to the big room, the big stage, the Boardwalk Hall. Coming off of a pandemic, since 2017. We're talking 4 or 5 years, call it. Take a year and a half away because of COVID. It's a long time. And now we're coming back heavy. We're coming back strong. Coming back with a really solid under-the-radar main event between an undefeated prospect and a prospect with 1 blemish on his record. So it's world-class club show boxing. How's that sound with these two guys? Yeah, and that's Tommy, all I love.
And to your credit, that's what I love about it. Checking you guys out and your pop and getting to know you about 2014, 15, getting to talk a little bit and whatnot. And I believe one of the shows was at Ocean Casino Resort were at. But what you bring is that raw, as you speak of, that gladiator type fighting, no fancy, no flash, hard work and whatnot. And you've brought it back to Atlantic City. And I don't want to say boxing is back in Atlantic City because we know what it was like back in the day, but you've kept it going with a couple other production companies and you brought it back to its feet. Talk about that a little bit, because that can't be too easy, especially like you said, running through a pandemic.
So it's definitely not easy, but when we started in 2015, it was in December. So let's just say we kick-started in December, but we got it jumping in 2016. I believe it was March. It was the second one we did. We just pedaled to the ground. I had a vision. I knew what it could be. I took advantage of the dead zone that Atlantic City was. I took advantage of it. and I made something out of it. I made great relationships with fighters and managers, promoters, big, small, all throughout the country. And I told them, listen, in due time, when I'm done my fighting career, when I am done, Rising Star Promotions will be a household brand, a household name. And although I'm not done fighting yet, it's starting to get that recognition because of the quality of the events we're putting on, the venues that we're doing it at, the affiliations we have with all these other big time promoters and networks. Like, people are starting to really grasp it. And look, it took a lot of hard work, but it took more patience, Mike. I think it took more patience and a lot more just grind. Just be, you have a, if you have a goal, which I have a lot of goals, and if I just had a goal that I wanted to tackle, I'm gonna do it. I don't care how long it's gonna take. You know what I mean? And we did that, and in saying all that throughout these years, right? Throughout these years, it's starting to, show for itself, I think. And I'm just happy. I'm blessed. I have a great support team. You know what I mean? I've always had great partners I deal with. Obviously, if it's not known, it could be out that Mike Russell of Cali Electric is my partner in the company. He's a great, asset, a mentor, a leader. He's all that, you know what I mean? He's just one of a kind. And obviously, I have, the people that work with us. I don't like to say for us, because like, I feel like even though like people will probably work for me, I don't really categorize them as like, like that, because I feel like we're a team. Like, we're a team. Like, right. You don't work for me, we work together. You know what I mean? So I have great people that work with me, from logistics to public relations to marketing to, event coordination, all that. It's like we're like one little small tight knit family where there's only like maybe 4 of us, but like we're deep. Like, our bond is for real. You know what I mean? And it's cool. It's really cool. I never thought it would be like this so soon. Because even though it's 7 years, Mike, that's still a little bit too soon. You know what I mean? And I'm happy where we're at. I really am. I'm really happy.
And to your point, Tommy, it's your hard work and what you've done. You don't lay down. Again, to have a little patience in there. So listen, we got about 2 minutes left, Tommy. 2 things we want to know. We're going to talk about the fight in another interview with Outlaw, one of the fighters, with the 26th of March. But I want to know real quickly, how do you got the name Cornflake? And then finish it off with you. You tell us what you want, man. It's all yours.
So how I got the nickname Cornflake was, right? So no racism. I know this world's going a little crazy with racism and stuff like that. But so in boxing, there's not a lot of, Caucasian males in the game, right? So one of my actually the best man at my wedding, my best friend, Brian, he's my daughter's godfather. One of them, because my daughter has like 10,000 godfathers, right, and one real one. But my daughter's godfather, and I remember we were amateurs. I was a kid, and we were watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and there was a kid on dude on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and it was a white guy named Cornflake, surrounded by all the black fellas and stuff like that. And in boxing, like I said, there's not a lot of us. And so, Brian called me Cornflake. I said I looked like Cornflake. I was Cornflake in the crew, and it just stuck with me ever since. I was like probably 13 years old, 14 years old, and I'm 30 now. So 15, 16 years I've had that name.
And it stuck. And you know what? You use it as your moniker when you're entered the ring. We love you, Tommy. Hey, listen, we're out of time here, but we're going to have you back, definitely. And again, we're going to talk to Sharpshooter and yourself, March 26th, Boardwalk Hall. Make sure you get there, folks. Tommy, thank you so much for coming to the helm.
Thank you, Mike.
Again, this guy came to us tonight, folks, and on his way.
I'm on the grind. I'm on the grind. I'm always on the grind. Just make sure everybody come out if you can. Support Atlantic City Boxing. It's coming back heavy. It's coming back heavy. It will be back heavy. Support these fighters.
There you go, folks. You heard it from the man himself. We'll be right back. Stay where you're at. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Mike Lopez Show. I'm your host, ACMike. Got a couple friends here that use their hands for good calls. Listen, we got a couple great fighters. Great show coming March 26th. We're going to talk about a little bit. So we got Tommy Cornflake LaManna, the president and owner of Rising Star Promotions, and my man, Mr. Outlaw. Mr. Outlaw, introduce yourself, and Mr. Tommy, please.
Go ahead, champ. All after you.
My name is Greg Sharpshooter Outlaw Jr., 901 4 KOs, representing Bowie State University out of Maryland, and going to put on the show come March.
And Thomas, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into this interview, my man.
I mean, listen, I'm not nobody new to Atlantic City. You know what I mean? It's great to be back in Atlantic City promoting. Rising Star hasn't done any event since 2017. And yeah, man, just coming out with a bang. You know what I mean? At the Boardwalk Hall, come March 26th is going to be, it's going to be fire.
So that there you go, folks. We're going to talk about, dig into this thing a little bit. Thomas, a Cornflake LaManna, again, like he says, great fighter, world ranked fighter. By the way, we're going to talk a little bit about this March 26th deal we got going on at Boardwalk Hall. For you old timers out there, yes, it was the convention center back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe in the early 2000s, switched it over. And it's a beautiful arena, mid-sized arena, top 5 in the country. And man, Tommy and the crew is bringing the game back to Atlantic City, which was the Mecca in the 80s, 90s, 20s, and the early 2000s. Tommy, to you first, my man. Tell us a little bit about Saturday, March 26th at 7 p.m., my brother.
Yeah, and listen, man, obviously, it's a stack card with local talent, world-renowned talent. Obviously, last week we had a fallout in the original main event with Manny Rodriguez breaking his right thumb, so he had to sit out, and it was only right to put honestly, and I swear on on everything, is not saying it because he's here. The showstopper of the night was Outlaw in Montreal. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. You know what I mean? You got this kid, Greg, who early on, a couple fights ago, right, suffered a first loss. I know he brings out all the people. He fought in the same room before a couple years back when he was with Holyfield. Brought a crazy crew down. I really commend him for, and I told him and his team that, I really commend him for taking a type of fight like this. He's fighting an undefeated fighter, Jonathan Montreal from New Orleans, who, I've been associated with on a couple occasions on some cards we did in Mexico during the pandemic. He, good fighter, tough fighter, comes from a good team, good management team, good support team. And, I really commend Greg for taking this fight. And he really didn't think twice about it. It was actually a pretty simple fight to make. And, I think with it now being elevated to the main event, that just means it was just meant to be. Right? This is a main event. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just happy for it. I'm happy for the card underneath. Obviously, we got former Egyptian Olympian Omar Salim taking on Chris Brooker in the co-main. And then we just got the whole undercard filled with local talent and good talent just from the New York area, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. It's all just, just stacked. So it's going to be a really great night, topped by a really intriguing, interesting, it's like a mind-boggling, interesting main event, for real. Yeah.
And that says a lot to you. Again, for you, Greg, a sharpshooter Outlaw Jr., the kudos that Cornflake just gave you. I mean, a guy who's been in the ring many a times and also behind the scenes putting these cards on. First of all, we're going to ask real quick, Mr. Outlaw, sharpshooter, where'd it come from? I mean, I got to kind of feel where it came from with those hands. Talk to us a little bit about that. And you did touch briefly on your career, and then also being a main event. Let us know about that. 2-part question there, my man.
So sharpshooter come from, I've been shopping everything in life, whether it's been my schoolwork, whether it's been sports. I'm always been in any type of sports, and cards. I'm a heck of a card player. So I think the name first came when I was in high school. I think they used to call me Money Man because I used to sell donuts, and then it was sharpshooter. So at first I wanted to be Money Man, but then you got Floyd, and he already got that name kind of trademark stamped or whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and be sharpshooter. That's who I am, and then it's been that ever since. And it's who I am. I'm sharp with the hands. I'm sharp with everything I do in life. And then as far as being the main event, stuff like that, I've been here before. This ain't my first rodeo. I think I was built for the spotlight. Like Cornflake said, I'm gonna bring the people out for sure. No matter if you're fighting here, New Jersey, Alaska, my support system is huge. They gonna be there. So I'm looking forward to March 26th, and I'm gonna put on the show.
And that's what we're looking for. Listen, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Boardwalk Hall, but it's one of those arenas from Arturo Gotti to I could go on and on with the different fighters, Michael Spinks, Mike Tyson. You're walking into one of those places that's it's iconic.
Historic. Yeah.
That's
historic.
right. Historic, iconic. And this is where I want to touch on both of you. First, Tommy, and then back to you, Outlaw. Tommy, to get in there, man, talk to me. And we talked a little bit briefly before this interview a few weeks ago, but, this is the spot you wanted. And you got it. So tell us about that little walk with the sports commission and whatnot.
No, listen, it was very simple. Like, I'm one of them guys, like, if I want it, I'm going to go get it. Inside the ring, outside the ring, I'm going to go get it regardless, right? So I wanted to come back with a bang. Like, Atlantic City was choking. It still is choking for, like, some real heat, some real action, right? And so I firmly believe that since December 5th, 2015, when we did our first show at the Claridge, that we've kept Atlantic City boxing as a, something relevant, right? And doing multiple, we're talking damn near, I know we're more north of 20 events now in a 7-year span. And that includes 2 years with COVID, year and a half of COVID, right? So I just want to come back with a bang. And, my partner, Mike Russell, is obviously a well-known guy in Atlantic City, through his company and all the things he does in the city and all that good stuff. And it was a pretty simple call. I mean, honestly, with Christina Mancuso at the Sports Commission and Jim McDonald at the Boardwalk Hall, it was like easy 1, 2, 3, like literally 1, 2, 3. And we made it happen. They believed in the vision that I pitched to them. I believe in myself and my company's ability. We put together a bomb card to come out in, and we're here to stay. God willing, we're here to stay on a quarterly, possibly a quarterly basis at the Boardwalk Hall, not including what we do at the other establishments like, Showboat. We've been approached by resorts, stuff like that. So, just never know. You just never know.
So Tommy Cornflake, again, you get it. Matter of fact, today, as we taped this interview, I was just at Boardwalk Hall this afternoon and talking to Jim McDonald and the others and our friend, it's dropping my mind. And they said to say hello. I said we were going to be interviewing Dan Gallagher, that say hello to you. Outlaw, listen, last bit to you, my man. Talk to us, tell us where to find you and whatnot. It's all yours.
I thought y'all was saying, you said it, my man.
Yeah.
I apologize. Again, March 26th, come out, support me. Much respect to the first main event. I hope his hand is okay, and I hope his career, but with all due respect, the people gonna come to see me. So I'm gonna bring the people out. I'm gonna bring the fight. I'm selling it. It's gonna be sold out. My section gonna be jumping. You can find me at Sharpshooter Outlaw on all social medias, at Sharpshooter Outlaw on all social medias. You can go to my journey. I'm pretty open guy. Like, I'm not one of them snobbish guys. I answer people DMs. I answer questions. I'm always remain humble. I think that's why I got so much support now. I am who I am. Nothing will never change me. No person, no money, nothing. So again, I'm looking forward to March 26th. I'm gonna show my skill set. And I'm gonna come out with a dominating performance.
Love it. So, folks, we've been talking to Greg Sharpshooter Outlaw Jr. Going to have a big event coming out here in Atlantic City, March 26th, 7 p.m. at Boardwalk Hall. Listen, man, we'll be seeing you. We'll be catching up. Going to get you on the radio before that with Tommy. Folks, stay right where you're at. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Mike Lopez Show here at Stockton University. I'm ACMike, your host. Got a special guest here today, Director of Sports Sales at Meet AC, the Sports Commission guy, I like to call him, Dan Gallagher. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, thank you so much for having me. Good to see you, man. You look great.
Great to see you too, man. Wish you were in the studio with us, but this is the way we do things now in this world of COVID and a little bit post-COVID and whatnot. Dan, listen, you've been in Atlantic City for some time now. You've had a couple different jobs here. Tell us a little bit, first of all, about Dan Gallagher and how you made it here, sir.
Sure. Well, I've been a sports enthusiast since the day I was born. There's no question about that. I did my undergrad at Villanova. I studied PR and psychology to become a sports agent. And I went to go to law school, took my LSAT, just wasn't in the cards. So I cut my teeth at the Chelsea Hotel, actually, in Atlantic City, where I started off as a server, really, and just kind of worked your way up the ranks. I was a server and a supervisor, then a manager. Then I was a general manager of the nightclub, and I got my first director of sales role there many moons ago. It feels like now. And then when Meet AC privatized from what was the ACCBA back in 2014, they brought me back on as the sales manager, and then kind of took off from there. And I can go into how we formulated the sports commission, but that's the down and dirty on Dan Gallagher.
So listen, when you talk about the Chelsea, it's right next door from my home. I
Yep.
appreciate that place. And we probably ran into each other, not even knowing it at the time back in the day. But listen, one of the things you just said there, and this is ones that are going to be part of the interview, though, but there's so many opportunities here in Atlantic City. And we are here at Stockton University with our interns. Tell some of the folks about some of that, because like you said, you started serving tables, but you kept the pedal going. Talk on that a little bit, that inspiration.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was very fortunate enough to have some great, incredible mentors in my life. And, I never asked any of my employees to do something I've never done. And I always felt very confident in doing that. I've scrubbed toilets, and I've done it all. And part of that is experience and learning things that you wouldn't have without, boots on the ground and being in the fire. But you aspire to be that person that's sitting at the table, the executive, the guy that's wearing the suit. And when you're on the other side of the table, and you're the one serving, then that's what you have to look forward to, and that's why you work so hard.
Dan, you touched on it a little bit about the what the commission does. Tell folks exactly what the Atlantic City Sports Commission is and what your function is here in the city.
Yeah, no, absolutely, great question. So I think a lot of people misinterpret what the Atlantic City Sports Commission does and what Meet AC does. My mom asked me to this day, "Dad, I don't know what you do," and I'll break it down kind of simple. So in 2014, Meet AC privatized what was the ACCBA, and in 2015, we formulated the Atlantic City Sports Commission. Meet AC is a 501c6. The Atlantic City Sports Commission is a 501c3. We function the exact same way. We work with the same board, same PR, marketing as Meet AC, although instead of bringing conventions, trade shows, and conferences to Atlantic City, we bring tournaments, competitions, and sports-related conferences to Atlantic City. So we could talk about some of the big ones you see around here today, but we were just really cheer and dance when it first started. And I think that's kind of where we hung our hat, and we still do a ton of cheer and dance events to this day. Our first quarter is actually our busiest, but going back to diversifying our portfolio, we wanted to do something that would change the landscape of our sports market here in Atlantic City. So we wanted to not just focus on cheer and dance, while that was our backbone. And we've been very fortunate enough to land events on all different segments of everything from local, regional, collegiate, professional, international events that have really kind of created a full comprehensive understanding of what the Sports Commission attracts.
And to your point, some of the most unique experiences, that's one of the things that brought me here to Atlantic City when I moved full-time in 2006, was all the events, whether it's in Boardwalk Hall, the convention center, on the boardwalk, on the beach. But you guys and gals out there took it to another level. I mean, I've seen everything from pole vaulting out there on the beach to the midget race cars just recently at Boardwalk Hall. And that's something that I'm involved to. It's going to be coming up probably when this show airs. Rising Star Promotions with Vinny LaManna and Thomas LaManna putting some on Boardwalk Hall. You bring a diversified package of events. Touch on some of the events. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know you're a bright guy.
No, not at all. I appreciate that. You said one of my favorite ones is Vertical Adventures beach pole vaulting. When we first formulated the Sports Commission, right, I thought there were 5 main sports, right? Your basketball, soccer, football. That's all we thought. There's a sport for everything. And as I attend these conferences and travel around the country, you realize that there's everything from tiddlywinks up to the U.S. Games. And you're looking at these new games. Cornhole. Who thought cornhole would be in contention for an Olympic game? Spike ball, a game that you play on the beach. So, and they all do the same thing, right? They drive economic impact to our region, which is what we care about, right? Heads in bed, the feet on the streets, people eating and dining in our local restaurants, gambling in our casinos. But Vertical Adventures, by far, I call it dating. I date some of these clients. And I dated him for 6 years until he finally moved from CSAC to come to Atlantic City and come here. And he's been here for 3 years now. Great friend of mine, Mike Lopez with Vertical Adventures. But yeah, we had to change what we did. And in Atlantic City, the best part about Atlantic City is our topography, right? Our free beaches, our historic boardwalk, 146-acre Bader Field. We don't have those conventional sports complexes that a lot of major tier 1 cities do. So what do we rely on? We rely on our topography, our beaches, our boardwalks, to be able to host a lot of these events. So the Rock and Roll Half Marathon will be coming up here in May. That is a huge deal. You'll see everyone dressed up in their Van Halen and their Axl Rose gear, running down the boardwalk, listening to music. We landed futsal. That's actually next week. Our regionals have 400 teams from the region coming into the convention center to compete for indoor soccer, right? So that's a big deal. Coming up in May, we're hosting the U.S. Wrestling Regionals. These are some wrestlers that you'll see at the Olympics coming up in the next couple of years. If you would have asked me that in 2015 when we created the Sports Commission, I don't think our aspirations were that high. And to be where we are today as a full team comprehensively, and the branding behind it, we've been afforded to land some of the coolest events, in my opinion, in the country.
Listen, you're doing a great job. I love it, Dan. We're going to have you back on the show and talk to somebody. And as some of these events go into action, it's one of the greatest places to live. I love it. Listen, we have our problems, but what place doesn't? But the one thing we have is what you spoke about 2-3 times, that beach, that boardwalk, and using all that beautiful Bader Field. Folks, we've been talking to Dan Gallagher. Dan, real quick, you got about 30 seconds. Give us an Atlantic City story. Remember, PG, so go ahead.
Hey,
one of your favorites.
It's an easy one for me. I'm a diehard Cowboys fan. Don't kill me. We just hosted the Jimmy Johnson Quest for the Ring last July. They'll be back this July. Getting to meet my hero, Jimmy Johnson, professionally in a personal atmosphere was something that I'll never get to do again. So there it is. What?
As an Eagle fan and someone who bleeds green, I was at that press conference over
there.
I
remember.
Hard Rock, and it was a great time. And I got to ask a couple of questions, and I was in the audience, and not the audience. I was at the concrete jungle when the snowballs went flying over to his head, and he actually answered the question, and he was fun with it. So that's so cool. Dan, I appreciate you coming, man. Be talking to you real soon and be seeing you on the 48, man.
Mike, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
You got it. Folks, we'll be back. Hey, folks, it's our belief here at the Mike Lopez Show that you, the viewers, and our guests bring the show to life. Thanks to each and every one of you for joining us. Special thanks to Stockton University and all tonight's guests. To learn more about ACMike, follow me on Facebook at Mike Lopez, ACMike, Live, Work, Play, and Instagram at ACMikeNJ. Remember, folks, always live, work, play, AC. I'll see you on the 48.